So the Mishnah and the Gemara in Chulin that teaches us about the heker that is needed between two people that are eating meat and milk on the same table. We'll learn about the heker. Zog the Mishnah, source 10. Ram Shimon Gamliel oimer shnei achsanoi oichlin al shulchan echad. Ze basar ve ze gvina ve'in chayshishin. Two clients, two residents, two people who are staying in the hotel. In other words, they don't know each other. That's what it sounds like. And the Gemara now explains. They don't know each other. So there's no real chashash that the guy eating meat is going to eat from the milky pasta of the other guy and the other. They don't know each other. The strangers do not share meals. That's the assumption. Okay. And that's pretty straightforward. The Shulchan Aruch here in Seif Beis paskins like this. Ha de asur laha'aloisai al shulchan davke b'shnei bnei adam hamakirim zeh zeh. Says the Shulchan Aruch, this is two people that know each other. Afilu him makpidim zeh al zeh. Even if they don't particularly like each other. They don't get on well, but Lamaisa, they know each other. Interesting. There's such a thing that you can know, there's a saying in English, know thine enemy, but that's a different thing, I think. You should know your enemy. But even they know each other. They're not strangers. Even if they're makpidim says, avalach sanoim she'ein makirin zeh zeh, mutter. Then it's mutter. Va'afilu hamakirin. Even those who do know each other, im osu shum heker, kagoin. Shekol echad oichel al mappa sheloi. If they make a heker, and this is what we're going to look into, what is the definition of a heker? So, eating on your own tablecloth, on your own placemat, that's a heker. Oyafilu oichel al mappa achas, v'noisnin beinehem pas lehekeira mutter. They put a loaf of bread in between them as a heker. How does that work? Says the Ramah. That's only if they're not eating from the bread. If you're eating from the bread, then the bread is not going to serve as a reminder. There's nothing to tell me there's something unusual going on here. Okay. But if they put Keli sheshoisin mimenu ubelav hochi ein darkei lias ala shulchan, then it's a heker. If it's something that isn't normally on the table, that becomes a heker, says the Ramah. Kal v'chomer, if they put a menorah or shadvorim, which are unlikely to be there, this will remind us. Fine. And kal v'chomer, if they don't eat from one map. Now, we know, or the married people know, that there is the same halach in Hilchos Nida, which is that if, and this is one of the things we have to look into, that if one is eating alone with supper with one's wife alone, and there's nobody else there, then the halacha is, she's a niddah, you have to have a heker. That's halacha in Shulchan Aruch. So we have to see, are they the same or not? Let's go on to the Gemara. And we'll learn a Gemara and a little bit of Tosfos, and we'll see some of the shaylos here. 11. Tanya nami hochi, says the Gemara. Ben Rabban Shimon Gamliel beis achsan oim shenisachol pundekechot. Two guests are staying in one hotel. Zeba min atzofa and zeba min adorim. Zeba b'chatichosoi, zeba b'gvinosoi. One comes from the north, one comes from the south. One comes with his meat, one comes with his cheese. Oichlin al shulchan echad. Zebasov zengvina ve'ein choshishin. V'loi osru elo bitfisa achas. When is it forbidden? When it is bitfisa achas. And the question is, what does tfisa achas mean? It's very hard to translate the word. Tfisa literally means litpos, means unfasten, or to touch. Mm-hmm. It means that there's nothing in between them. It's one tfisa, says the Gemara. Tfisa achas al gadat cheleken tfisa achas, says the Gemara. It's like one tfisa. In other words, there is no distinction between them. So people who know each other, we're only talking about people who know each other. People who know each other and they're eating, and it's considered one meal, then we're worried, says Tosfos. And this is the makor of this. Ve'im yesh davar mafsik lo have a ken tfisa achas. If there is something that is mafsik between them, then it is not considered tfisa achas. Hechadomi, underline again, guva beini ubeini, manichem lechem, oy kan, oy shakelim, lahafsik ben tayim, oy oichel al mapa acheret, have a kein state tfisas. And that is the basic halacha. The Pischei Tshuva adds here in Shulchan Aruch that if they are eating at opposite ends of the table and they can't really reach anyway, then that's also good enough.
That's what I know.
Yeah. That's a Pischei Tshuva, and he also quotes the Masas Binyamin. Now here he says an interesting thing. Here's a machlekes. Here we have a machlekes achronim. The Pischei Tshuva quotes the Masas Binyamin, one of the Gedolei achronim, who says he makes what in the yeshivish world we call a tzushtel. It's in Yiddish. It's called a tzushtel, vergleich. Yeah. In Yiddish, you make a tzushtel between two things, meaning a comparison. And a vergleich, you compare it. In Yiddish, as we say. So the Masas Binyamin makes a tzushtel between Hilchos Nida and here. And he says as follows. Just like in Hilchos Nida, if there are other people at the table, then it's not a problem. So similarly, if there are other people at the table, says the Masas Binyamin, the same thing applies in Basar Bechalav. Says the Badei HaShulchan, Heintiger, he died not long ago, he says no comparison. He says you've got to look at what the chashash is. In Hilchos Nida, the chashash, the concern is that they will get intimate, and they're not going to be intimate if there's other people there. But with Basar Bechalav, the chashash is you might lean over and so why would other people being at the table stop you if you're familiar with each other to the point that you would eat from somebody else's plate? So how does it help that there's somebody else at the table? So he argues on this. It's really interesting. Yeah. Okay. The Yalkut Yosef. Now, I remember here's an interesting shaila. What is the hecker? What qualifies as a hecker and what doesn't qualify as a hecker? So, first point, number 12, the Yalkut Yosef. And the first thing is, says Rabbi Vadi Yosef, the hecker has to be in between them. There's no point having it on the side somewhere. It actually needs to be, I'm eating meat, you're eating milk, the hecker has to be here between us. That's point number 1. And this is something that is true in Hilchos Nida as well. Imagine, take a pen. It's an interesting shaila. A pen. So, there's a shaila in Hilchos Nida. So, I'm eating with my wife at the supper. Nobody else is there. So the halacha is you have to have something in between. Is it okay just to take a pen and put it there? Probably not. Even though a pen wouldn't normally be in the table, there is a concept that it should have a bit of height. Goivak tsas, v'nira la'ayin, kagoin kan u'menoira. I remember somebody once asked me, what about a bunch of keys? Yes, I looked it up in some of the modern Hilchos Nida form. They say it's not great. It should be something that has a bit of height. So, L'moshel, something like this. So, on the one hand, yes, it's a bit unusual to be on the table in between the husband and wife. But will it be enough to remind them? Possibly not. It needs to have a little bit of height. Aval tzalachas, a tabas, a ring. Einam nechshavim leheker, that's not good enough to be considered a heker. Af she'ein darkom li'is monachim sham, even though they're not normally there. Ve'im kol echad eichel b'mapah sheloi, or if each one eats on their own placemat, then of course that is good. Okay. And the next point here is Badei HaShulchan. Where was that? 1 second. What was the Badei HaShulchan about? Yeah, there was a shaila. He said a baby bottle. No, I'm not so crazy on that. Right. Here's a shaila. What would be if you're eating on your own? You're eating cheese, but there's some nice salami there on the table, some nice currywurst, whatever it is. Do you need a hecker? In other words, does it have to do with two people? What happens if you're on your own? There's an interesting hafla. Interesting shaila, no? Says that here, 13. Badei HaShulchan quotes the hafla. You know who the hafla was? The hafla was the Rebbe of the Chasam Sofer. Zogt the Nosen Adlo is the other one, but that Zogt the Hafla. V'yesha Koslu. Right, source 13. That is the Hafla. The Davka b'shnayim hu demahane heka sheyesh litzarif laheka gam shmiras chaveiroi. There is the consciousness and the conscience of somebody else adds to the heka, because presumably the other person, that would only help if the other person, by the way, is an adult and Jewish and religious. That's another point, by the way. Yeah. So you need two people there. That's when a heka works. So there is a heka and there's another human being there. But if you're on your own, putting a heka is not going to be enough, says the Hafla. It's interesting chiddush, huh? So you're eating pasta and there's meat on the table. Nobody would ever think of it. According to the Hafla, it's not good enough. You can't do that. Because there's no, you need a person and a heka. Just Santa Hafla. Very interesting. Okay. But it kind of makes sense. Right. Uledina Shemo. Now that's the opinion of the Hafla. It is a bit of a chiddush, says the Badei Shulchan. Shemo yesh lahachmir b'chol zeh kashe'ein kosheloi. Avol eisat tzorich nira sheyesh lahokel b'zeh. It's a chiddush, and if possible to be careful, then it's good. Fine. And based on that, we have the Yalkut Yosef 14, and this is what I said before. Ha'ochelim koton b'shulchan echad. You're eating with a 6-year-old kid on the table. And the 6-year-old is having their pasta with cheese, and you're having meat. Yesh Oimrim, says Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef, Yesh Oimrim she'ein moye litin heka beineim lahafsik ben hakosa legvino. It's not going to help, because the 6-year-old's not going to stop you from eating their pasta. Sheyesh lochu sheyotzis hadova hamafsik v'yovel litin me'agvino v'yesh cholkin u'mekilin yesh lahachmi b'zeh. He's actually machmir. Really interesting. Is it really interesting? Okay. Little Nakuda here from Rav Nevensal. Can you use a sefer as a heka? Nice big thick sefer. So really he says you shouldn't do that. Why? Because it's not bekovadik. Yes, it's not bekovadik. So take a sefer and use it as a heka. If it's already on the table anyway, then you can use it. That's what Rav Nevensal says.
So
okay.
Do we know that you cannot eat alone at the table if there's meat?
It is better not to take the meat off the table. Not a big deal. You're alone. I mean, who's stopping you? Yeah.
No, somebody said don't touch my meat.
Sorry?
Somebody said don't touch my meat.
Oh, it's not yours. Okay, good point. And you've got nowhere else to eat. But the B'diavad, not B'diavad. The way he puts it is lechatchila. One should try and be machmir. If it means you're going to starve, you're not going to eat, then you can be maker.
You eat Basar Bechalav, even do it.
Okay. Two people sitting next to each other on an airplane. Over the page. Two people sitting next to each other on an airplane. One is eating meat and one is eating milk.
No problem.
Not a problem. Why?
Everybody has his own food.
That's right. That's basically what he says. And this is from who? This is Rabbi Yochanan Vosner. Yeah. So he says, Alkain, over the page, 16, but if they put one tablecloth over both, that potentially would be a problem. Now, the Ramah... Yeah. The Ramah... Yeah, no comment. I flew back from Israel last week, and I won't say who was in business class, but anyway, never mind, all good. The Ramah finishes off in Sif Beis, and he talks about salt cellars. And the Ramah says, well, I should be careful what I say. The Ramah says you should not have, really, bread. This is a separate, I'll just mention it quickly. Bread that you ate from at a milky meal, shouldn't really use that bread for a meaty meal, unless you're really careful. Unless you really have to be conscious and careful to keep it away, and especially if you slice it, and if it sits there, and then you take it off, and then the next meal you use it for the opposite, it's not really good, unless you are really careful. Yeah, you have to be careful. Salt cellars, so the Ramah is machmir for having meaty and milky salt cellars, but it's very clear he's talking about a salt cellar, not a salt shaker. Because in those days, they you put your finger in and sprinkle the salt. It's one of those.
All days your deep food.
But if it's a salt cellar, then there's really much less chashash. That's what he talks about here. Yeah.
I have a question. What about lemon? Is davar harif or
Lemon is a davar charif, definitely.
So you need practically two lemon.
If you are going to, well, it's not really the davar charif bit. I don't think. Does it? Do you keep it clean? Do you?
So you can cut once with meaty.
Oh, that's a whole. That we're going to get to that. That's nothing to do with this.
Yeah, but it's just. I presume like both knives are clean. So no,
doesn't matter because if it's a davar charif, doesn't matter. That's the whole point of a davar charif. Even that's the whole chiddush of Einim. We're going to get to that much later. We've got a lot of work to do.
Two lemons cut like.
Well, I tell you, just good practice. My wife trained me over the years. After making so many things, treif, we pretty much only ever. It's also kind of a rule in our house. You only cut onions and lemons are only ever cut with a pair of a knife. Just because it just makes trouble.
Yeah.
We only ever cut. It's just common sense, really. Just get into the habit of only ever cutting lemons and onions with a pair of a knife, unless you're going to use the whole. You're making a cholent. You're putting 2 onions in, so you're going to chop the whole thing. But if there's, you're making something, and how much do you use already, or it just becomes easier. So we just have a few pair of knives, and
then you have a part of the kitchen, or like a sink,
no, don't need to. No. How do you wash up a pair of a knife? It's not so.
We have like our rice cooker as parva, so a parva.
Yeah.
It's also.
We will get to all of that. Nat by nat we're going to have a lot of fun
Probably had to have one pot only for
Sadi hay.
Eggs.
Okay, but this is a pot. This is a kli. Here you would have a knife.
Yeah. So the truth is, we'll get to it. We'll get to it when we talk about dishwashers and all this other stuff as well. Which will be a lot of fun. Okay, let's finish this. That's why I'm actually hurrying a little bit, because actually the next sugya, which I want to get into, is quite complicated, and we want to learn a nice tosfos properly. We're going to talk about the waiting between meat and milk. That's what we're going to get right to in 2 minutes. Okay, that's the next sugya. Says the River Voice Ephraim, Greenblatt, Malachiot Petuchot, open salt cellars. Tzorech sheyeh achas lechalavi v'achas lebsari. Yeah. V'malchiot hasgurot. If they're the closed ones that have holes in them, then you could use them for basar and chalav, but you need to be careful to wipe them. Make sure that you don't touch them with your greasy hands, and just make sure that they're clean between one side and the other. Fine, finished, and that's basically that. Okay, now the fun starts. That's Voice Ephraim. Okay, now, we're now going to get into the sugya of waiting between meat and milk. How long do you have to wait? Why? Etc. And there's a lot of interesting things. There are 2 pieces of Gemara. So we're going to start off by learning 2 pieces of Gemara and a tosfos. And this is kind of the basis of everything. And then we'll move it all the way down to the minhagim. So we need to focus here. There are 2 pieces of Gemara. The first piece of Gemara, Simon Peites. We're starting the new Simon Peites. Omar Rav Chizda, Ochal Basar, Osur Lechol Gvina. Says Rav Chizda, if you ate meat, you may not eat cheese. However, if you ate cheese, Gvina, Mutar Lechol Basar, you can eat meat. Now here comes a very well-known, a very famous statement of Ma'ukva. Omar Ma'ukva. Says Ma'ukva, Ano lahomilsa chala bar chamra legabe abba. He used a metaphor. He says, my approach and attitude in this matter is the difference between vinegar and wine. Chala legabe chamra is the difference between vinegar and wine between me and my father. My father was much frummer than me. So he says as follows: De'ilu abba. Because my father, ki hava ochel bisra ha'idna, if he ate meat today, lo have ochel gevina ad lemocha, he would not eat cheese until the next day, till tomorrow. Ad hashta, meaning 24 hours. At ve'ilu ano, whereas I'm not so from. Baha sudsa hudalayachilna. in the same Su'udah, I wouldn't eat meat after milk after meat. L'Su'udah achrina ochilna. But in the next Su'udah, I would eat. And this is the locus classicus. This is the basic text from which arises all the different opinions and minhagim, and we'll see about this. For the moment today, we're gonna keep it quite simple, but it's really important that we know this. So we have the Gemara here, Kufei Amud Aleph, which says that you may not. It was Kufei. What was it? Just a second. So before Basar Bechalav. Rav Chisda. The statement of Rav Chisda. Ochal Basar Oselechel Gvina. And that's paskend. That's normative. You ate meat, you can't have cheese. You ate cheese, however, you can eat meat. Says the Gemara, how long? By the way, I should read this piece of Gemara also. I don't know why I didn't bring it. Elo kamo yishe ben Gvina lebasar. Asks the Gemara, okay, so how long do you wait? You said, I can eat, after Gevina, mutalechel basa. You can eat. Interesting, the Gemara somehow intuitively understood that doesn't mean immediately. How did the Gemara know that? It says, if you ate cheese, it's mutar to eat basa, but that's an interesting point. So this asks the Gemara immediately, lekamo yisha ben Gevina lebasa, how long should you wait? Nothing. You don't need to wait. Why are you assuming you have to wait? You don't have to wait. Then we have. Okay, then we'll get to Basar Bechalav. We'll do this, and then comes this thing with Ma'ukva. Fine. Okay, that is text number 1. So pretty straightforward. You ate meat. You can't eat cheese. You ate cheese. You can eat meat. What is the waiting between meat and cheese? Says Ma'ukva, my father was more from than me and he 24 hours, and for me, it's the next meal. So far, so good. Now comes another Gemara, and the truth is, this Gemara is earlier. This was Kufei Amud Aleph, and this Gemara is Kuf Daled Amud Beis. Okay? And it is a statement of Igra. It's a statement of Igra. And we need to see how these texts go together, okay? And this is we're going to get into quite a complicated process, okay? So we really need to focus. Says the Gemara. So remember, this is before. It's here. Tana Igra Chamua de Rabbi Abba. Igra, the father-in-law of Rabbi Abba, taught the following: Oif ugvina ne'echolin ba'apikoiren. Chicken and cheese can be eaten. But apikoiron, what's apikoiron? Says Rashi, derech hefka. She'ino niza bohen. We can speculate about the link to Epicurus and all this other stuff and hedonism but hefka possibly also. It means sorry.
Derech hefka. What does it mean?
It means there are no rules. It's whatever you want. That's what it means. Mm-hmm. You don't need to worry about anything. That's what he's saying. Okay? Says Igra. Chicken and cheese, you can eat. You can eat however you want, whatever you want, no problem. Not together, but one after the other. Says, and then he explains what he means. Hu tanala v'hu omala. He stated it, and then he explains. What do I mean by that? I mean, beloy netilas yadayim ubeloy kinuach hapeh. You do not need to wash your hands afterwards, or wash your mouth out. Kinuach v'hadocha, as we call it in halacha, right? So, says Igra, you can have, it seems to be, if you learn the Igra statement as being the way he said it, so we're talking about chicken and then cheese. Oif ugvina, if we learn it kipshutai, that it means chicken and then cheese. You can have chicken, and immediately afterwards you can have cheese. Really interesting. Okay. Says the Gemara a story. Rav Yitzchok Breid Rav Mesharshia Ikla Levei Rav Ashi. Rav Yitzchok, the son of Rav Mesharshia, came to stay with Rav Ashi. Aisele gvino. They brought him some cheese. Ochal, he ate it. Aisele bisra. They brought him some meat. Ochal, and he ate it. Veloy moshe yodei. So he didn't wash his hands. So what happened? Rav Yitzchok is in Rav Ashi's house. They bring him some cheese, he eats it. They then bring him some meat, and he eats it without doing anything in between. Omrelei, they said to him, how can you do that? V'hatani igra chamua de Rav Yabba. But igra taught us, oif ugvina nechalin bapikorin, that chicken and cheese can be eaten without anything. And the implication from Igra's halacha is that is because it's oif. So it's oif ugvina in, basar ugvina lai. The implication is Igra says you can have chicken and then cheese, but meat and then cheese without anything in between, you can't. So how on earth could you do this? Omalahu, and he answered as follows. Hani mili belelia. Igra was talking about at night. But your mama hachazina, but in the day I can see what's going on, and therefore it's okay. So let's review. Okay. We have the following. We have a separate Gemara. We have a Gemara in Daf Kufay, which is very clear, and it says that once you've eaten meat, you may not eat cheese. Having cheese, you can eat meat. Fine. Igra says you can have chicken followed by cheese without any Netilas Yadayim, without any Kinuach HaPeh, without doing anything. Rav Yitzchak eats cheese, and then he has meat, and they all start shouting at him. Igra says you can have chicken and then cheese, but not meat and then cheese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he brought in first cheese.
Thank you. That's the question here, Toast. That's where we're going to get to. That's one of the questions. Yeah, I was kind of leading you all on. What on earth? Igra is talking about having chicken followed by cheese or meat followed by cheese. Rav Yitzchak had cheese and then he had chicken. And then meat. It's the other way around. Mm-hmm. And then what's his answer? His answer is, Igra is only talking about the night, I'm talking about the day. The day, it's for some reason, it's okay. Now the fun starts, my friends. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to learn our Geschmacke Yeshiva Shetoisos. Let's keep our wits about us. Okay? And so Tosfos' question and two answers, and based on the two answers of Tosfos, this is the basis for big differences of opinion in halacha. Okay? Says Tosfos. Let's learn Tosfos. Oifel Gvina number 3. Oifel Gvina in, Basar Gvina lai, Teima, Frank Tosfos. Dehechi parich migvina achar basar, abasar achar gvina. How can the Gemara ask, Yana, this is your question, how can the Gemara ask from a situation, Rav Yitzchak ate, or how can the Gemara ask from a halacha of gvina achar basar, of eating cheese after meat, the Rav Yitzchak gvina achar basar achar, the other way around, Rav Yitzchak had cheese and then he had meat. V'loidomi, and of course they're not the same. Kidam abasamuch. V'yesh leima, says Tosfos, dahachi parich. This is the first answer of Tosfos. Says Tosfos, the answer is as follows. This is the question. De braisa de igra mashma oiful gvina necholin ba'api koiren belina tilis yadayim b'li kinuach hapeh. The braisa of the igra, the statement of igra, implies that chicken and cheese can be eaten without any Netilas Yadayim b'li kinuach hapeh, but aval shar basar, but meat would require netila v'kinuach hapeh. Hold on a second, says Tosfos. What case? We're going to learn out, we're going to deduce, we're going to imply, work out from Igra that chicken and cheese, chicken followed by cheese, doesn't need washing hands, but meat followed by cheese would need washing your hand. What would that case be? Hold on, says Tosfos. So we're learning from Igra that meat followed by cheese, you would have to wash your hands. Hey, Chidami, what's the case? I don't understand, says Tosfos. If you're telling me that it means meat first, then forget washing your hands. We know from this Gemara you've got to wait till the next Suda, minimum. Washing your hands is not, it's reicht nicht. It's not good enough. So it can't be the case. Mm-hmm. Can't be the case of as it is written that it is meat followed by cheese, because well, then Igra is telling me what? You don't need to wait till the next Suda. You can have immediately. You can have a piece of meat, wash your mouth out, wash your hands, and have cheese. Of course not. We have Rav Chisda, which is normative halacha. Once you've eaten meat, the very minimum you have to wait till next Suda, whatever that means. But certainly washing hands is not enough. So it can't mean that. So then what does it mean? Then I feel then washing hands is not going to be good enough until the next Suda. So what must you say? You have no choice. You have to say that when Igra said chicken and cheese, it didn't mean chicken followed by cheese. He actually meant cheese followed by chicken. He just said the words oif ugvina. And I led you down the garden path and I said chicken followed by cheese. He just said chicken and cheese. We have no choice. We have to interpret his words as really meaning cheese and chicken. Mm-hmm. Why he said it that way around, he'll explain in a minute. Mm-hmm. So now I have the following. So, cheese followed by chicken. You don't need to wash your hands or anything in between cheese, which you're going to have chicken afterwards. But if you're going to have meat after the cheese, then you have to do kinuach and the Tilisidayim and Suda. And now the Gemara makes sense. Rabbi Yitzchak came along. What did he do? He had cheese followed by meat. And they questioned him. They said, Igra, why didn't you wash your hands in between? Now the Gemara makes sense. Mm-hmm. Okay? This is the first approach of Tosfos. Okay, let's do this again. Just to get this clear. V'yesh leima. Second line, Tahachi Parach. This is really the Gemara's question. The Brisa de Igra mashma oifel gvina necholim bapikoren. The Brisa of Igra implies that you can have chicken and cheese without belina telisidai beli kinuach suda. Aval shar basa. That's only if it's chicken. But meat, boy natina v'kinuach. Hey chadomi. How can that be? What's the case? I basat chela. If it is to be understood literally, that we're talking about a scenario where there was meat followed by chicken, that cannot be that Igra said, just wash your hands, because we know that's not good enough. You have to wait till the next Suda. Then, I feel so you must say, what is Igra talking about? Agvino Trilo, he's talking about cheese first. So then why did he say Bossa Ugvina? V'hodanokat Bossa Ugvina. So when the Gemara then says, Basar Bechalav loydok, you're right. The order, the sequence is not precise. It's not precise. Elo gvina ubasa loy. It means gvina ubasa. But because Igra had used the word oif ubasa, so we keep the same pattern and say basar ugvina. But really, of course, it's gvina first. Finished. Finished. That's the first opinion. Okay? Two others of the Gedolei Harishonim, the Bahag, the Baal Halachas Gedolos, and Rabbeinu Tam. And they have a whole different pshat. Let's see. They say as follows. The Ochal Basa, when it says that if you eat meat, you may not eat cheese until the next Seudah, that is if you didn't do Natila V'Kinuach.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. It is a wow. You're absolutely right. Rabbeinu Tam Mefarish. The Ochal Basar, if you eat meat that is forbidden to then have cheese, that's below Natila V'Kinuach. Avol B'Natila V'Kinuach, Shari straight away. Avol, but Gvina Ubasa, if you have cheese, if you've had cheese, then you can have meat even without Natila V'Kinuach. So why did Mar Ukva say not till the next Seudah? Hainu below Natila V'Kinuach. That's what he meant. If you don't do Natila V'Kinuach, then yes, you're going to have to wait till the next Seudah. Inami Machmir alatzmei hoya. Or perhaps he was just being Machmir. His father was very, very, very Machmir, and he was Machmir. He was regularly Machmir. But really, you don't actually need to do it at all. Uleperushai. Now, what is... So, one second, if that's the case, then what is the problem with... what is the problem where they asked on Rav Yitzchak from Igra? Back to the story. What did he do? He had cheese. Didn't wash his mouth out, but he had cheese. Not meat first. He had cheese. So now we haven't got that one answer. The Perusha Kosher, my Porach Hocha Rav Yitzchok, V'tzorech loima, says Rabbeinu Tam, Tzorech loima le Perusha, de le'inyan netilas yodayim, ein chiluk ben basar tchila legvina tchila. Ulegabe kinuach davka yesh chiluk. Leave that bit out for a moment. Says Rabbeinu Tam, there is no difference if we require tvila, netilas yadayim. Netilas yadayim means that we are concerned that you have a little bit of what you've just eaten still on your hands. And then when you put back into your mouth, the opposite type, you'll be putting two things in together. And for that, he says, it makes no difference whether it was cheese or meat. that doesn't make a difference.
You ate with hands.
That's what they did in those days, absolutely. Yeah, we'll come to that. That will also become a very good point. We'll come to that. But the point, therefore, netilas yadayim, if you require netilas yadayim, there is no difference in netilas yadayim between cheese followed by meat or meat followed by cheese. And that's what they were asking on Rav Yitzchok's story from Igra.
Pashtus, you need clean your like gadgets with you're eating with. So
there's two. He's talking about
and your hands.
So there's two different things here. Yeah. There is netila and there is kinuach, and they asked him. It says, look at the Gemara. It says, "V'lo mosho yodei." He didn't wash his hands.
No.
Yeah, that's what they were focusing on. What I've done is, now that you've done the hard work, you deserve.
What? But what does it mean was a day and not a night?
That's the thing. When you're very good. Thank you for reminding me. I forgot to fill that in. Oh, you're quite right. That's now you should be able to work it out. Because when you're eating at night, you can't see what you've got on your hands. You can't see whether your hands are clean or not. But in the day, I can see. I don't need to wash because I'm not stupid, and I can see I've got meat. I've got grease on my hands. So then, of course, I'll go and wash my hands. But in the day, if you can see your hands are clean, then you're okay. At night, you can't see. Fits beautifully. Fits very nicely. Now let's have a look here. You have the summary of the hard work that we just did. Okay? Tosafos' first answer.
Okay.
So the Gemara's case, Rav Yitzchak ate cheese, followed by meat, without washing his hands. Both answers of Tosafos, they accept that version of the story. The question from Igra, so the Gemara asks, how could Rav Yitzchak eat cheese followed by meat without washing? Igra taught that you must wash between meat and cheese. The Gemara answers it was during the day. Tosafos' second answer, they both agree with that. Fine. So the Tosafos' difficulty, which is a difficulty according to everybody, is that the Gemara's question seems misplaced. Igra was talking about meat followed by cheese. Well, Rabbi Yitzchak was eating cheese followed by meat. How can you ask from one to the other? So now the two answers. Tosafos' resolution in understanding the Gemara's questions. The first answer of Tosafos is really Igra was talking about cheese followed by meat, not meat followed by cheese, as we thought. Therefore, the Gemara's question on Rav Yitzchak makes sense because both of them deal with cheese followed by meat. Rabbeinu Tam, on the other hand, says, no, Igra was talking about meat followed by cheese, as we understood it originally. But the Gemara assumed that the rule applies in both directions. Therefore, it challenges Rav Yitzchak for not washing between cheese and meat. Rabbeinu Tam is of the opinion that the concern of washing hands makes no difference whether it's cheese followed by meat or meat followed by cheese. Fine. Now, what's the Gemara's answer? So, according to the first answer of Tosafos, the Gemara's answer was Igra was speaking about eating at night where you can't inspect your hands, hence the need to wash. Rav Yitzchak ate by day when he could see if his hands were clean, so washing wasn't necessary, and that's the same thing going to be with Rabbeinu Tam. Now, how do we reconcile with the first Gemara of Ma'ukva? According to the first answer of Tosafos, the first Gemara who says that somebody who eats meat cannot eat cheese until the next meal, that remains, that stands. This first Gemara is still valid, because that means meat followed by cheese, which always requires waiting. Igra and Rav Yitzchak are discussing cheese followed by meat, where washing or inspecting your hands is enough. And now here comes the chiddush, the wow that you said. Rabbeinu Tam says, no, the first Gemara reflects a chumrah. In other words, this first Gemara that you have to wait till the next Suda is not going to be, according to Rabbeinu Tam, this is not normative halacha. It's a chumrah. And there's two different levels of chumrah. 24 hours or till the next Suda. But it is a chumrah. It is not baseline halacha. First Gemara reflects a stringency. Ma'ukva's personal practice, or a case where somebody didn't wash. The halacha follows igra literally, which means even meat followed by cheese requires only washing your hands and your mouth.
And
Practical
cheese,
outcome.
And cheese after meat also.
Yeah.
Yeah, because but
Yeah. Cultivated time be no difference.
Conflict is Rav Cheese there because also achol basar also bechol urina. What about that? So it's kimir Rav Cheese that means also if you didn't
Correct.
wash.
Yeah.
So if you didn't wash your hands and mouth, it's also
correct. You couldn't. Yeah, absolutely. So now, practical outcome. Let's see. So according to Tosfos's first answer, if meat followed by cheese, you have to wait till the next meal. Cheese followed by meat, wash your hands and mouth at night or inspect it by day. Chicken followed by cheese, no washing needed. That was Igra's kula. According to Rabbeinu Tam, meat followed by cheese, wash hands and mouth, no waiting. Cheese followed by meat, same rule, wash or inspect. And this is going to play itself out in halacha. This is, we're glad we got through that. This is, now we're going to start to have to see how we're going to paskin halacha l'maisa. Okay? So that was really what I wanted to get through today. I went quicker than I thought, actually. Baruch Hashem. Okay. So in other words, is the waiting, is it dependent on time or is it dependent on an action? That's the analysis. According to the first opinion in Tosfos, it's waiting. It's dependent on time. According to the second opinion in Tosfos, it's dependent on an action. According to Rabbeinu Tam, it's all about the washing. Now, I think maybe we'll start that next time. The Bachlokas Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam about the reasons for waiting. The reasons for waiting. Maybe we go to the. Why put the Tosfos there? For the moment, let's go to. Let's go look at the Rambam here, and we'll finish with this for tonight. Let's look at number 5 and 6, because this will begin to open up the sugya for next time. So we've seen probably one of the most important machlokas. Now we're really going to get to the bottom line. What are we actually worried about? Why is there a need to wait or to wash? What are we actually concerned about? Source 5 says the Rambam. Mi she'ochal basar b'tchila, bein basar behema, bein basar oif. Says the Rambam. Somebody who ate meat, whether it's meat or chicken, loy yochal acharei cholav, you may not have milk afterwards. Ad sheyihye beineyen kedei shiur seuda acheres. He's passing the first Gemara of Ma'ukva. You have to wait. You have to wait until it is the next seuda. V'hu k'moi sheish sha'os. And it is approximately 6 hours. Very interesting language of the Rambam. K'moi sheish sha'os. What interesting. The Rambam is a halacha sefer. What do you mean? He doesn't say a kazayas is kamai, it's an approximate. What is it? And here a really interesting thing comes in. I'll just give you my personal minig. I wait 5 and a bit hours. That's my minig. Based on various things, and it goes back to the Rambam. 5 and a bit. 5 hours and 10 minutes is also okay. We'll see how we get to that, but okay. And as you know, there are the Dutch minhag and the of 1 hour, etc., 3 hours, and we'll see whether that's a real thing or not, and whatever. But here, this is how the Rambam passes. Why? Mipnei habasar shel bein hashinayim she'enoi sar bekinuach. Basar bein hashinayim. Because no, einoi sar bekinuach. It doesn't go away. Little bits of meat are stubborn, and now he wasn't talking in the age of flossing, okay, where people had all this,
right.
It didn't. So therefore, today it's too late. It's low plug. But generally speaking, little bits of meat will stay in your mouth for the length until the next Suda for approximately 6 hours. That's the Rambam. Says Rashi. Oselechel Gvina. Says Rashi, Mishum de Basar Moitzi Shumon v'hu nidbak bepeh u'ma'arich b'ta'amai. This is not about the substance of having a little strand of meat in your teeth. It's not Basar Bechalav. It's because meat is a geschmack. Meat is fatty, and it's there's a film of fat and residue will stay in your mouth, and the ta'am, Rashi adds. He doesn't just say, remember, Rashi could have stopped there. He could have said, the basar gives out fattiness, which sticks to your mouth, and stop. He doesn't say that. He adds, u'ma'arich b'ta'amai, and the taste lingers. Baruch Hashem. Taste of the steak keeps going. It's the gift that keeps giving. Yeah, and you can still taste that steak 3-4 hours later. So it's the shuman, as a result of which the taste is still perceptible, discernible for that amount of time. And that is the famous Machlikas Rambam and Rashi, and it's going to play itself out in Mitzvah Hashem. Next week we'll make some more progress. Shkoyach.